So Hegseth is purging the military, much like Stalin purged his military in the 1930s and got rid of all his good generals, leaving only one general. And I think everybody that knows a decent amount of history knows the only general that Stalin was unable to purge was who? Uh, who would go on to basically lead all of the Soviet forces in World War II and to defeat the Germans. General Zhukov, the one general that was not purged. Now, Hegseth has purged all of these generals that he views as either woke or DEI because they're black or women uh, or other races. And he is leaving in sycophants that have been moved up in the military relatively fast. Now, the general that is going to be leading was only a two-star general, but because of his loyalty to Hegseth and Trump, blind loyalty, and he has been sped up in the past few months up to a four-star general, which he really should not be. He has only earned that due to the fact that he knew people in high places and kissed the right asses. If anybody is a military person out there, you probably know that you want to have voices out there that you may not agree with, that may, in fact, be the voice of opposition when you're going to lead an assault or a retreat or whatnot. They're going to step in and say, "Yeah, I don't think that's, and they may just be right. So you always want the freedom of the military to tell you that something may not work, it may not be that way, or no, sorry, Commander in Chief, that's not going to work. We just don't have the troops to do that or to pull something off. Uh, if you only leave in yes men, I always go back to the analogy of Elvis, who surrounded himself with doctors and friends that basically just said, yes, yes, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, they kissed his ass. Told him he was great, everything he did was right, and this and that. And, so he kept getting more drugs, surrounded himself with doctors that would prescribe him anything. The doctors that would not prescribe him anything, he fired them. Any of the friends that basically told him, yeah, dude, I think you got drug problem, boom, guess what? They're off the payroll, they're off his entourage. And he just kept around the sycophants and the people that told him everything was great. He was so right. Hence, he is now dead. Died on a toilet at 42. So that's, and Stalin, same thing, purged his military. He purged all the competent people. He was threatened by them, much like someone like Hegseth and Trump. They're threatened by people that are successful, that know their stuff, because that makes them feel insecure in their position because they're just downright not secure. And so what they do is they get rid of those people and they just want pure loyalists. They don't care about the competency. It's not even a factor, actually. They don't look at competency and say, like, oh, yes, are you competent enough to lead? They just want loyalty. They want blind loyalty. People to tell them that they're great. Yes, they're right. It's just an ego thing. That's a terrible way to lead. And you know, you look at any of the leaders in the past that have done this, say Hitler, and he would sack his, generals that, his field marshals, I should say, that wouldn't do certain, certain things or that would have opposition. Barbarossa, when they were going to attack Soviet Union in 1942. Uh, well, a good amount of these German field marshals and generals said it's no, when it's just not ready. So he kind of demoted them and promoted the ones and put them in charge of the armies that were going to attack. The ones that said, "Yeah, let's do it," the yes men, and a lot of those yes men were probably making a calculated risk, like, all right, maybe we're not ready, but let's this way I'll be in with Hitler, and if things do work out, then I made a smart move. So kiss ass, right? And kissing ass, it works. Think about all the times when you worked in the past and you've had a job and you see people that, got their brown nose the hell That head is so far stuck up their boss's ass. Uh, and guess what? Guess who gets promoted? That kiss ass. And they're not necessarily the competent one. The competent ones that are confident in doing their work oftentimes don't get promoted because they're either looked at as perhaps uh, overconfident, not uh, not not kissing ass enough. I know I've had issues in the past where I've worked, and I was told I was not respectful enough to the superiors. I always kind of rubbed me the wrong way too. I'm not respectful enough. You know, and I don't know. It was hard for them to give me specifics on what they were talking about, but I was not. I think personally what it was is that I'm pretty confident in things that I believe in and say, because I research it. I really try to do. I, but who knows? Some people just don't like it. They don't like it. But yeah, so I had been told, due to my uh, that I was disrespectful to superiors at times. Uh, yeah, I just maybe that was too. Maybe I wasn't loyal enough. I've never had loyalty towards people. I'm just, I do my own. I have my loyalty towards myself. Some would say it's a selfish trait, but I believe what I believe because I usually try to back it with evidence. Um, and yeah, but I that doesn't mean that I'm going to force others around me to believe the way I believe. However, I do think, you know, somebody said to me the other day, they said, "Oh, that's you always think your opinions are correct." I was online, and I just thought, well, of course I do. That's what an opinion is. An opinion is when you say something that you believe about something. Hence, it is fundamental that you believe your opinion because it's a belief. It is what that is what it is. It's just kind of, well, of course, I think my opinions are correct. Otherwise, it wouldn't be an opinion. I wouldn't have an opinion. That's like saying, well, imagine this. Imagine I believed all my opinions were incorrect. Uh, so I say like, yeah, my opinion is that the sun is a big ball of fusion energy, but I'm pretty sure I'm wrong. I'm always wrong. So I wouldn't believe that opinion. My opinion's most likely incorrect. No, it's correct actually, but it's illogical. It's illogical. Of course, you think your opinion is correct. You should think your opinion is correct. That's why you have it, or don't have it. Don't have an opinion. If somebody said something, "What's your belief in this?" You might say, "I actually don't have an opinion," because you don't believe whatever you. Or you should say you're not sure enough to believe anything. Hence, you don't have an opinion. Anyways, I don't know how we segued into that, but I just get a kick out of that. You believe your opinion's correct. Well, what? Yeah, funny stuff. Funny stuff. I like talking to people anyway. It's just interesting modus operandi that comes out of everybody and everything. Uh, I think everybody should have an opinion, but you might want to research it. You might want to, look at the history of it and see where, if you can back it up. Um, the one thing is to have an opinion when you don't have any real information on it. I was just commenting on the Keystone Pipeline, where a lot of people were, especially they get party driven by it. Uh, oh, it's great, this and that. Well, Keystone Pipeline was just an extension of a current pipeline, and they wanted to basically extend the pipeline down to Texas. Now, what would this achieve? This would achieve getting oil from the Canadian shale oil owned by this pipeline would be owned by what a company, a Canadian company called TransCanada. TransCanada wanted to get its oil to the ports in Texas and onto ships and sold to China. They can make more money that way. China pays lots of money for oil. Now, what they were currently doing before that, and still to this day, because the pipeline never was approved, is that there is a glut. It ends up kind of sort of dumped the pipelines. Some do go to the ports, but some also don't. They make it about halfway, and then the oil is refined in the Midwest and sold. And it drives down the price of oil actually in the Midwest, and um, it has a lesser effect as it goes out towards the ends of the country, but it does drive down the price. TransCanada, and this is like in 2009, had research done because they wanted to push their uh, pipeline expansion, and so uh, they what do they call this? Subscribed. They hired a firm to do research on how it would affect the uh, gasoline jobs, things like that. So this firm studied the pipeline and basically said that, well, it's going to create some jobs for the initial build out, which would be with about a year, if that. However, a good amount of those jobs are specialized jobs that are going to come from pipeline guys that were in Canada or in other countries, not the United States. Um, and then to maintain the pipeline, you're talking around 40 individuals. So that's how many jobs you made, right? 40. Uh, and it would in fact drive the price of gas and oil within the United States up. The reason being that oil and gas, or the Canadian shale oil that was being shipped through the Keystone Pipeline, would no longer make it to the ports. I mean, would no longer stop at the middle of the country and cause a glut and drive the price down. Instead, it would make it to the ports, it would be sold to China, and there would be less surplus oil in this country. Uh, so it made TransCanada lots of money. It made Canadian firms money. It made Canadian people money, and maybe 40 Americans that maintain the pipeline along that portion. And it would cost lots of money because you would actually be giving. One of the things they had to do was give eminent domain rights to TransCanada. That means TransCanada could come in and could eminent domain, could snatch property from U.S. Citizens, uh, which they've done before. They've granted foreign firms eminent domain rights for like seizing land so they can mine on it and things like that, which I've never believed in. I always thought that was a horrific idea to give a foreign company eminent domain rights over U.S. citizens. Is absolutely reprehensible in my mind. So they would do that, and people would lose their livelihood, and yes, they would be paid, quote unquote market rate. It would be the minimal amount of money that TransCanada could get away with giving them in compensation for their land in order to put the pipeline on it. But overall, that the pipeline did not benefit the United States. It benefited Canada, it benefited China, and it raised the price of gas and oil in this country. So for me, I literally saw no reason why to build that pipeline. Let the glut continue that's in the Midwest and let it drive down the price of oil here. Uh, environmentalists didn't want it because they don't want the shale oil being used because it is kind of dirtier to, I was going to say distill, to refine. It's harder to refine. It's a little bit, it's thicker. It's got more like sulfur and some other yuck in it. It's like sticky garbage oil versus the, some Vaseline like Six oil. So whatever. Let's not get. We don't. You don't have to get into like the the nitty gritty minutia of it, but uh, it didn't. But that became like a political fighting point. It became Democrats were against it, and Republicans were for it, saying how much money it was going to make, them or their constituents, which it really didn't. It was bizarre, but it also became a principle thing. It became, pro gas and oil versus the environmentalist left. Um, but if you looked at it purely from an American, did it benefit the United States? It didn't, so why would you want it? And I would never give rights to a foreign company, giving them eminent domain rights to seize Americans' lands. It's just reprehensible. Anyways, I don't know how I got that far talking on this, but that was some of my thoughts on. I don't even know where I started. Was it on opinions? Oh man, I completely lost myself. ADD in this video. All right, well, hope all's well. Click on subscribe, join. I'll talk bullshit. That's what I do.